Hello and welcome to the Brocade Campus Feature Explainer Series. I'm Terry Henry. This time around we're going to have a look at optical monitoring. So in this case I'm on an ICX 7750. It doesn't really matter. When we turn on optical monitoring, we can turn it on either globally for the device and turn it on all the ports, or you can turn it on a per port basis. So we would do that from config T. And if we want to turn it on globally, we just do optical monitor is the command, and it's going to turn it on globally for the device, like so. So it's telling me here by default it's set to 8 minutes alarm and warning interval. But when we do a question mark on that, we can set the interval, and depending on the device. So if it's a 7200, 7250, we can set it anywhere from 3 minutes to 65535 minutes. On a 7400, 7450, 7750, we can set it anywhere from 8 minutes to 65535 minutes in terms of how often it's going to send us an alarm or a warning message, right? So that's in minutes. 0 to disable. So 0 doesn't disable optical monitoring, it disables how often it's going to send you an alarm or a warning should that optic go outside of the parameters, right? So but by default on this device it's going to set it to 8 minutes, and it tells you that. And it's so if you want to see what it's currently set to, we could do a show optic dash timer, excuse me. And it's going to tell me that it's currently set for 8 minutes. So again, you could do this on a per port basis, or you could do it globally for the device. I'm going to do it globally on the device and leave it at the default of 8 minutes, which is fine. And then we can look at the optic itself. So if we do a show, actually let's do a show media and see what we have installed first. So in port 111, 112, 113, we have optics here. We have 10 gig SR. In 114 and 5 and 7, for example, these are twin-X. These are copper. So optical monitoring only applies to optical cable, right? It does not apply to copper. The other thing it does not apply to is stack ports. So if we were using some of these ports for stacking, even if they're optical, it disables optical monitoring. So just bear in mind, in a stack situation, you cannot run optical monitoring and stacking on the same time at the same port. Okay, so let's have a look at one of our optics. So we will do a show optic 111 here. And so what it's going to show us is port 111. Here's our temperature that it's currently running at. So it's currently running at 25.1679 degrees Celsius. Its transmit power is negative 2.5508 dB. Its receive power negative 2.4305 dB, and its transmit bias current, so the current the optic's running at 5.392 milliamps of current is what it's using for transmit. And all of these are within the normal threshold, right? So before we have the warning and the alarm intervals. So if there was a warning or an alarm, it was outside the parameters, that would show up there as alarm. So if we want to see what those thresholds are set to, for example, we could do a show optic threshold, if I can spell threshold, and then the port number itself. So let's see, yeah, 111. So here's the threshold for port 111, right? So it's got a temperature, high alarm, low alarm, high warning, low warning, right? So 90 degrees is the high alarm if it's running 90C. Negative 5C is going to give you the low alarm. And then warnings, it's going to give you a warning at 85 and 0 degrees C. So same thing with the transmit bias, high alarm, low alarm, high warning, low warning, and then transmit power and receive power. So for example, for receive power, it's going to give you a high alarm if it's receiving 3.0102 dB. It's going to give you a low alarm at neg 15.0 -1.0168 dB, and warning at -1.0237, and uh, low warning at -15.01568 dB. So as long as it falls within those thresholds, then it's good. But if it falls outside of those thresholds, it's going to give you a warning and or an alarm depending on how far outside of the threshold you set. So all of the current Brocade optics support optical monitoring. Third-party optics do not, and some of our old legacy optics do not. But if you're running any current version of Brocade optic, you might as well run optical monitoring. Where we used to have to use a third-party device in the past, and you had to unplug the cable and plug it into a reflector and then get these parameters back. Now you can do it real time on all your ports. It's built into the hardware on the port, so you might as well use it if you can. It doesn't cost you anything, and it gives you an extra peace of mind. So you would it would detect things like dirty optics or bad cable, or a cable going bad, or a cable that's running too long, or possibly even a cable that's running too short. It will give you alarms when it runs outside of those parameters. So it's a great thing to use, and you might as well use it if your optics support it. So that's it for today, and thank you for joining.